The podcast is named Destination Unknown unless I decide to change it.
Yeah.
Hence the destination unknown.
Yeah, some random guy. So for everyone listening, Michael and I met because I was just literally holding a sign on a bridge that said, "Let's talk life." And it's something that I've always wanted to do. But so I came from Kansas City, right?
Okay.
And when I don't know, there's something about like when you're established somewhere, doing something like that seems so much tougher. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But since I've only been in Austin 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
I had no clue. And time out.
Yeah.
We're actually recording right now?
Yeah.
You've been recording this whole time?
Yeah, I try and trick people into starting.
Man, you done set me up.
I don't like it to be this intense thing, you know? Like,
Oh, my God.
I just trick people into...
Okay, I dig it.
Yeah, so for backstory for everybody, Michael and I don't know each other at all.
Not at all.
That's what makes this podcast kind of funny. Like I said, I was on a bridge and I was holding a sign that said, "Let's chat life." And it's something I've always wanted to do. But back in Kansas City, I just had this like really big barrier because I don't know. I was like, well, what if someone sees me? And
Oh,
like,
for sure.
And like, what if someone sees me? That doesn't mean nothing's going to happen. But I had that thought.
Yep.
And Michael walked by and he said, "I wish I could." And then I was like, "Can you give me 1 minute?" And you were like, "Okay." So I think this is kind of a cool moment because it just shows that if you're open to the world, so much can happen.
Yeah.
And like we could create that moment every day if we were open every day and meet certain people. But I'm just curious from like your point of view, when you walked by, you read the sign, and we're in Austin, Texas, where everyone's holding a sign.
Yep.
What made you stop?
Well, first of all, let's get one thing straight. You lied. You said a minute, and it took longer than a minute. Because
That's true.
But it was so natural. And what made me stop was the sign. It actually said something about defining success.
Yeah.
So the sign was inviting, but the person was even more inviting. So you have this calming demeanor. You have this energy that was like, you can trust me. So I'm like, might as well, let me sit down. And I didn't realize until after it was posted, like, I'm not wearing a shirt. Like, wait a minute. I sat down. I'm being recorded. People are gonna think I just walk around that way.
I loved how you commented on there, and you were like,
I had to clarify.
just so everybody knows, I was on a run, which is why I'm not wearing a shirt.
Yeah, but it was so cool.
It was cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I want to get out there and do it again. You were really the only usable video I had from that day.
Oh,
I did
no.
a few, but they definitely were not as good as yours. So,
And I didn't ask you what prompted you to start doing this, because that's bold to put that on a sign and then just wait for people to come by, because people typically are not going to stop and want to chat with you.
yeah.
What drove you to that?
Yeah, so this podcast, so it's so funny because like I have to remember you know nothing about me.
But I feel like I know you.
Yeah. So this podcast, I've done a lot of podcasting in my life. So over 150 episodes. But this specific podcast, You're the 7th episode. So I relaunched it. I deleted all the old ones.
Okay.
There was a night before I moved here where I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep a second. And it was because I was just thinking about this creative idea.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 2 parts to it. This part, the studio part, where I got people in that I knew and that I was interested in. And then there was a street part where I just like went to the streets and just like interviewed random people to hear people's stories, because we pass thousands of people every day on the street.
Yes.
And each of them are so unique. And I was like, what if I just like talk to people on the street? What would they have to say? Who could they be? Like, it kind of goes back to, you know, when you fly, maybe not anymore, but like 10 years ago, you would fly and you would sit next to someone and you would start talking.
Yes.
And you would just meet the most interesting people and then never talk to them again. I just kind of had like that thought in the street of like, who are all these people? Everyone has their own story. And I just wanted to try and get those stories out. So that's what prompted it.
It's great that you did. I mean, that's super bold, right? Because in my mind, that's something that, well, let me take that back. In my mind, I would never even try something like that. I want to say that, yeah, that sounds cool. I could probably do it, but there's no way I would ever do it because I would talk myself out of it.
Yeah. I guess it's just like something that you have to want to do. Like maybe you don't want to do it.
Ooh. Ooh, you hitting more gems now like the first time we talked?
But it's almost like there's something else that you do want to do where you would push through that discomfort of doing it. And I don't know, man. So I'm 31.
Okay.
And in the past, how old are you? Am I allowed to ask?
Of course. Yeah, 57.
57. Okay. So you're about my parents' age.
Oh, stop talking. Cut. We're done.
We're done. Short pod. I've just like realized in the past couple of years that everything you want is kind of on the outside of or on the other side of your comfort zone. And it's like, I'm sure the day that you met your wife, I don't know how you all met or whatever, but I'm sure you had to do something uncomfortable to kind of initiate that.
You're not going to believe this story.
All right, let's go.
And anybody listening to this story now is going to be like, you should have been arrested.
Oh, no. So it sounds like you did something pretty uncomfortable.
How did you get away with that? Yeah, so we met in a call center. So I used to work for a company called Kaiser Permanente. It's a health maintenance organization in California. And I got hired into the call center, and she was actually my supervisor.
Okay.
So we sat in these cubicles. They called them bays. And I sat here. I think she sat 2 people behind me. And then there's other people in the bay as well. And I used to joke around a lot, right? I would shoot rubber bands at people. And then I would hide under people's desks when they would leave to go to lunch or for a break. And when they came back, I would grab them at the ankle.
Oh, my gosh.
And I did that to her.
Yeah, you might be catching an HR suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Today.
I don't know what. I was young. I was super young. I mean, we've been married for 24 years, so we've been together for 27. So this was a different time.
Yeah.
But yeah, hiding under people's desks is how I met her.
Wow. And then she was just like, "You want to get married?"
She was. I love that guy. No, that didn't happen like that. It took 3 years, but I knew when I met her that I wanted to be with her. I didn't know if it was going to be, long term until about the 2.5 year point. I'm like, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going to marry her.
Okay, so I've asked several people on the podcast this, like, what do you think makes a great partnership?
Wow, it's a great question because, wow, I got to think about that. So what makes a great partnership? Communication, open communication, honesty, and a willingness to not project yourself and your shortcomings onto that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been there, done that. I did it, right? I still kind of do it sometimes today, which is so annoying, right? Because you don't ever get rid of things, or at least I haven't, so I'm just talking for myself. And so I would project these stupid insecurities onto her that's not her at all.
Yeah.
And so that created friction. And then you get into the whole communication, right? So I was the guy. I don't need to tell you everything that I'm doing. I'm just going to, do what I'm doing and you need to accept it. Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So learning to trust the other person completely with all your shortcomings, because like I held back a lot of things, which isn't good. Because I didn't know what it really meant to fully give yourself to somebody. So communication, honesty is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And a willingness to continue to learn from the other person.
Yeah, lack of complacency has to be pretty big. Like, I would think, because anything, like you even just, something I like to do is shift, like, okay, we're talking about relationships. Now look at a job or look at something, a different aspect of life, because it's all similar, right? It's like, you don't just, it's so easy to get complacent in a job, and it's so easy to get complacent in a relationship or in your health journey or whatever it might be. But we all know that when you challenge yourself and you push yourself, that's when you feel the most fulfilled and like get the benefits. But you mentioned the projection thing, and that's really interesting to me, because I almost think that when we date someone, all that we have is like the data of the people that we used to date. So all we can do is like form theories and opinions from the past.
Yep.
So now we meet someone new and they say, hey, I'm going to the store. And if your data points say that when I'm going to the store, that means I'm going to meet someone.
Say it.
Like that's just projection.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I've done it too many times that I care to acknowledge. And it's so unfair. It is so unhealthy, destructive, all the negative things that you can think of. But yeah, I mean, we were talking last time about, regretting, trying to correct things in ourselves, about like talking behind people's back, why do we do that?
Right.
Well, projection is probably right up there, because my goodness, it is so bad, because we don't think, or at least me, I'll talk for myself, not you. I don't think anything's wrong with me. I'm good. I've worked through all my stuff. You ask my wife, no, you've got a lot of work to do, man.
Yeah. No, totally. I think it's easy for us to, again, with that comfort thing, it's like if we don't zoom out and talk to other people and get others' opinions, it's like we can just be living this cool life. And
that is so true.
That. So on the relationship part, so you mentioned like what makes a good relationship. How do you want to feel in a relationship?
Excuse me. Great question. So before, when I was younger, I've always been independent. So it was like hard to be in a relationship. It's really hard to be in a relationship if you are so independent you don't think you need the other person. And so I didn't think that I needed my wife to make me feel a certain way, which is, it's still true, right? You can't depend on anybody to make you feel.
You don't want to be like codependent.
Exactly. But then I was doing it, I was completely opposite, right? I'm just so independent. You're just along for the ride, basically. And that's not good either.
So where's that come from? Because I would say I would be the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, in the past.
Yeah.
Like now I feel very independent, but in the past once I finally really liked someone, it was like I would do anything for him. Like I would give up myself for them, which is the most unattractive thing that one can do. Because then you're no longer the person they were attracted to. You're like this guy that's willing to do anything for them.
Yeah.
Or for any, you know what I mean? You like literally, like if I'm Blazik the podcaster, I meet a woman and I'm like, well, I can't podcast today because I want to make sure she feels okay, or, not always, but then I'm no longer this guy. I'm like someone that's I'm somebody else.
But are you? Can you be both?
That's where I think, yeah, you totally can be both. I would say I had like a real lack of boundaries. And it was only my own doing. It would be like, I totally could go podcast, but I'm feeling anxious because maybe I'm getting a weird vibe here. So I'm just not going to go do this because I want to be here to try and fix this weird vibe. Or it's almost hard to explain, but
I'm tracking what you're saying because
it's anxious attachment.
yeah, but where is that coming from? Right? That's something that you're doing to yourself. It's not the other person doing it to you.
Yeah.
Which is the worst part, right?
Yeah.
Because now we're then looking at them in a weird way because we think because they're feeling they're feeling a certain way when they're not.
Right.
And it just creates this disconnect in the relationship. And I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right. My wife is like, if I'm doing something, then I don't do something because I think she might not like it or something like that. She's like, no, it's on you. Mm-hmm. I said nothing about that. You did that to yourself.
Yeah. That's where relationships are so tricky because it's you want to stay yourself and be independent and be who you are and on your mission, but you also want to add to the other person's life.
Yes.
And them add to your life. And
yes.
So that balance is so tricky.
When you get in harmony with that person, though, and you're doing the dance instead of trying to always lead and control, which I have a huge, I'm a control freak.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
So, we got shareable problems. And so, but when you get in harmony, it just works because there are things that I've done in my life that I wasn't sure. I thought I had to do it all by myself. And my wife is there going, I support you in whatever you do, but you got to bring me in instead of trying to do everything on your own. You're married now.
You are talking to me, sir. Like, I will refuse help for the stupidest shit. Mm-hmm. It's like when I moved down here, instead of waiting a couple hours for my friend to come help me move my couch, I just like insisted that I do it myself. Like get a dolly, like barely getting it through. I'm just so independent
to a fault. Yeah.
I will refuse help for anything. And I actually had a nice little lesson in that this year. So a couple months ago, I had triple hernia surgery.
Whoa.
Yeah, for a 31-year-old. And
wow.
I made the plans. Someone was going to drop me off at home, and that was going to be it. And the doctor was like, do you understand you're having triple hernia? Like, you can't stay by yourself tonight. Like, you're not going to be able to really walk. So I was forced to stay with a friend for a couple days, and they took care of me, and they were great, and it was amazing. But I was like, wow, I can actually let somebody help me. But it took me not being able to really walk for that to happen. And it just felt really good to just kind of let go and be like, you know what? People can help me. It'll be okay.
Because we're on this planet to help each other. I mean, that's why there's so many of us, right? It'd be different if there was just one of you. I get it. Okay, you got to do everything on your own because you're the only one on the planet. But if you're so narcissistic to still think that you're the only one on the planet, you've got a problem.
Yeah, man. So kind of on that note, something I wanted to ask you was, what are some things that you wish you learned earlier in life? I know a lot of these questions I'm throwing at you got to think about. But
yeah.
I like the deep shit.
Yeah, that's a really great question. What are some of the things I wish I would have learned earlier? Well, I learned respect early on because I was, my mom and dad raised me, or I should say, beat me into respect. And not just for respect for property and others, but, respect for your elders and all that. But I'm tempted to say being more open. Yes, I wish I would have learned to be more open and not so closed. And that goes back to thinking that I, number one, know everything. And if you ask my wife, she says I still have that problem because I don't always listen to her. It's a fault of mine.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it hurts her sometime because she literally thinks I don't listen or I don't listen to what she says. And that's not the case. I'm just think I'm always right. That's the problem. So I wish I would have learned to be more open in my communication earlier on and to, I'm going to say respect the other person's opinion more. I do, but I guess I really don't if I'm not applying it, which is worse, right? You hear it, but you don't apply it. You don't respect me.
Yeah. That's I keep hearing you say like you think you're always right, and I have that I have that problem too. I'm very open to hearing other people's opinions.
Yes.
And if it resonates with me, I'm like, okay. But I almost feel like I'm the one that makes that final call. Yes. Do you do you think that everybody thinks that way? Because wouldn't everybody think that way? And maybe this is me being narcissistic as fuck, but wouldn't you think that you're always right? Wouldn't everybody think that?
Ooh.
Because you have all these life experiences that lead you to an opinion. I don't know. To me, it would make me think that everyone would think that they are always right. I mean, have you logged into Facebook?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Right. But I don't think that's necessarily true because there are a lot of people who are super insecure. And so that group, that segment, that population, I would imagine, doesn't because they're second guessing themselves a lot. They're unsure about the next step. Mm-hmm. And that's just not how I'm built. I can look at a situation, analyze it, and I'm going to go. I don't need a bunch of inputs.
Yeah.
And if I get all these different inputs, just like you said, the last sign-off is with me, though.
Yeah.
Unless you can, here's going to sound really bad, unless you can prove to me that you know something more than I do, and I got to respect that in order to take it in.
Yeah. Man, I hope people don't listen to this and just be like, these guys. These guys. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't know where that comes from, but I guess it's probably a gift and a curse because like you said, if you see something or you want to do something, you're go mode. That's me. Like if I want to do something and I have conviction about it, let's roll. We're doing it tomorrow, which is a good thing because I get rolling on stuff. Yes. And I'm not going to analyze things and never start.
Exactly.
But yeah, then there's also the curse of like, I think I'm right. But I mean, here's something to consider too is I think you can, again, going back to doing both things, I think you can do both things. I think you can be considerate and respected, like respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Respectful.
You can be considerate and respectful.
My brain just stopped. About every 6 podcasts, my brain will do something like that. You can be like convicted. You can be respectful. You can listen to others, but still be like, okay, this is where I want to go. And then there's also something to it where it's like, I can only be me. You can only be you. And if we're trying to create something, only you or I can create that vision that we have in our head.
Yep.
So there's something to that as well.
And the ability to inspire others, though, to follow that vision.
Yeah. And like with this podcast, I've had to really focus on letting go of that because I found myself in this position where if we were doing this podcast and I was like, okay, going into it in my mind, I'm like, we're going to inspire the world today. We're going to do this, this, and this, and this. I couldn't have a free-flowing conversation.
Yeah.
I have expectation when I put it out, and I'm like, oh, not enough people listen, not enough people watched it. So like a balance that I've been trying to do lately is like do good work, try and give my gift to the world, but also this is for me. Like, I want to sit down here. When's the last, like sitting down with no phone and just talking?
Yeah.
Rare.
In this day and age, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in my day,
Tell us about back in your day.
back in my day, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, man. So I was kind of scrolling on your Instagram and looking at some of your videos.
Uh-oh.
You were talking a little bit about people feeling stuck, whether that be in their job or just in like day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that when talking to people, I hear a lot. They're like, oh, I'm doing the same. They're kind of living the same day over and over. We've all been there.
Yep.
What's kind of your message to people that might feel like they're in a rut and they're not really finding a lot of joy in the day?
Great question. And this question is gonna lead to another question, which is, what's your purpose? Because if you don't know your purpose and you're just aimlessly wandering, you're gonna feel stuck because you don't know where it is you're supposed to be going, because you may just be following the herd or following what you've been taught, how you were raised, and you just have no direction. And the getting unstuck is all about finding your purpose, and your purpose, for me, needs to be bigger than you, and it cannot be you, because if it's you, you have a problem, right? I have enough problems of myself that I create for myself. I don't need to have my purpose be anything about me. And so it's about, and I believe everybody, as we talked about earlier, right? You're not the only person on this planet. You were put here, and there's billions of other people, which means we are here to help others in whatever it is that we're gifted in, right? So we all have a unique gift and talent that, for me, it was imbued to us by our Creator. You are naturally gifted at something. You didn't do anything to get it.
Yeah.
So therefore, it ain't yours. You need to give it back. And that comes in serving, helping others, and doing something for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And in that, you will find, for me, I've got to keep qualifying this, and in that you will find meaning, purpose, happiness, because nobody has ever felt like crap after doing something for somebody else. It's impossible.
It's true. It's true. You got me a little fired up with that one.
All right, let's go.
because what you said there is like you didn't do it.
Right.
You didn't come with whatever it might be. So for me, that goes back to being open. I'm not religious, but I believe in like the universe, and like I don't believe my ideas are my ideas.
Good.
I never thought like I would be to deflate this narcissistic train that we're going down. I've never thought that I just like sat down and like wrote these cool ideas and I came up with it. I mean,
It's good.
they come from somewhere. Like when I write, I shock myself with what gets on the paper or what gets on the computer. I'm like, that's awesome. Where did that come from? It's not like I thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something from up above, I don't know what it is, like inspired me, boom, onto the computer. And it was just like this flawless flow. So, and maybe you can speak to this, but like telling someone to find their purpose is probably a little bit overwhelming. But I'm with you in the sense of you have to be open to whatever that might be. So what would you say to someone if they were like, how do I find my purpose?
Yeah. So first of all, it's not this one thing, right? It's really hard to say, find your purpose. Okay, what's that? Go create X to do this one thing? I don't think it is. I think it's a journey to where you are constantly moving forward to that thing that is driving you, that thing that, for me, our Creator put inside of you. Now it is your job to then cultivate that and grow it and make it better. For example, you're writing, right? You're naturally gifted to write. But can you get better? Can you do other things? Can you learn techniques to get better and do other things and then take that gift and do something else with it? That's on you. The gifting is not, but guess what? You can multiply that thing. And so I think when we're talking about purpose, like for me, it's about pouring into others and serving them and then giving when I can, whether that be financially or any type of support that I can do for somebody that's less fortunate or in a situation, it doesn't matter. And then continuing to cultivate that to then try to duplicate that, multiply that. Because if it's just one thing and you don't do anything with it, that's a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of this goes back to trying new things as well.
Absolutely.
Because kind of what you said there is, if you were lucky enough as a kid to find something that you loved, you can kind of know, maybe you're not following it, but you always know, like, I always loved painting. I always loved doing this. I always loved reading, whatever it might be. Like, when we were kids and when there was no expectation, I think we all had our thing that we just fell in love with. And then we grow up and we push that to the side, and now we pay bills and life can get a little repetitive and we feel like we're not finding joy. And we always say things like, I need to find more time to read, or I should really get back into painting. But we don't. Because for some reason it feels hard to do the thing that we love.
Yeah, why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. That's a weird one, right? But yeah, so like if you're an adult and we don't know our purpose, maybe we just need to go try new things, because as adults, we don't try new things. As a kid, we're constantly trying new things. We're going to camps, we're going to new classes, we're going to clubs. We don't have anything to do and we don't have a cell phone, so we're making shit up to try new things.
And there's no judgment.
No judgment. No judgment.
See, I think that's another problem that happens to us, right? We get beat down by society because, for one, we have this weird illusion that people actually care, and they don't. That took me a long time to figure out, right? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But in that people are constantly judging you, right? You get on the internet, you go on social media, and you're like, everybody's so negative. For what reason? But then who are these people?
Exactly.
The people, I had to, in order to get over this hump of this one thing I was trying to get past, I'm a very visual person. So I had to create this PowerPoint that I built this wall in the middle, and then I made all these bubbles on opposite sides. The bubbles were positive and then negative bubbles. And the categories were friends, strangers. So friends are not negative. They want the best for me. They're always encouraging and positive. It's the strangers that are negative, condescending, judgmental. So why am I spending so much time on this side of the wall with people I don't know and don't care about because I don't know them?
Yeah.
And not paying attention to the people that really, truly love me and support me. So get over that fear and go do that thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it goes back to when you get comments on social media and you can have 100 nice comments, one negative comment, and that's the one that you think about. 99 people just said nice things to you, and one person said something hurtful, and it's like,
why is that?
That's what I'm going to focus on.
Why do we do that? We do that the work week. You work 5 days, you have one bad thing happen, all you remember is that one thing that happened.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
There's something, I feel like there's something in the brain that attaches to negative. Same way about like talking behind people's back, you know? It's like there is something in the brain that draws us to negative, to toxic, to, and I don't know, you almost have to train your brain the opposite way.
Absolutely.
Because it's automatically wired to see the negative.
Yep.
No sense.
It's like I could say, Blazik, man, you look amazing today. Love your hair. Love the shirt. Them shoes got to go, though. You're going to forget all the good stuff I said, man. Why does he not like my shoes?
He's talking about the foam shoes, by the way, guys. I personally like them.
They're great.
No, yeah. There is something in us that that wires us. So I was on YouTube this week looking at kind of my analytics and stuff, and I noticed that a majority of my listeners are men aged 25 to 30. So what kind of advice would you have for young men 25 to 30? Can be anything you want, like maybe something they should focus on, something they should do.
You teed this one up. Whoop. There you go. Quick story, though.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, we were down at the lake running, just like we always do on Sunday. Pull up into the parking lot, meet my guys, and we're going to go run. There was a gentleman there on a motorbike who just happened to, because I got there a little early, he saw me, and he goes, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" My trunk's open, thinking, okay, let me make sure he's not trying to set me up.
Yep.
Like, he's going to get me over there, and somebody's going to come take the car or something. I'm like, oh, Jesus, what all the bad things that can happen.
Mine went to negative.
It did. Thanks. And so he asked me, he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "What's the one piece of advice you would give to yourself, your younger self?" He goes, "I'm 20, I think he's 24 years old. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. What would you tell yourself?" And I'm going to give you that answer to your question, which is the same answer I gave that young man, which is, do not sacrifice the long-term goal for short-term pleasure. Whatever's happening in your life right now, if you have a goal and then you give that up, because you don't think you are, because you're giving it up for partying, girls, chasing girls, doing all these things that are not going to add to your long-term goal, you got to stop. You can't do it, because you're going to get into your late 30s, 40s, waking up going, what happened?
Yeah.
I didn't save any money for retirement. I was stupid. I didn't think about a 401k at my last job. Now I got to hustle to get things together because
and my body's broke down because I didn't work out. So I can't even do certain jobs.
Yes. So do not sacrifice your long-term goal for short-term pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the long-term versus short-term pleasure, and it seems to be a real indicator on success. And, you know, I think health is one of the purest examples of it, because that's something you can't fake. You can't, even money, maybe you could luck your way out, because maybe at 50 you slide into a $500K a year job.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah.
you could pull that off.
Yeah, sure.
But with health,
nope.
There's only one way to be healthy, look good, all of that. And it's showing up every day and grinding it out. But I think that's a really good piece of advice. I didn't know where you would go with that, but that's not it's not what I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you think I was going?
A lot of people say work out, like
oh, yeah?
Be healthy. Yeah, get healthy now, so that you don't have to later on.
But don't you think that's part of it?
It is.
Right?
You went
I
with
was very broad.
You went with the umbrella.
Exactly.
Which is good. Because, man, finance.
So, you know.
I'll always, and, you know, it is what it is, but I didn't really financially get myself together until about 28, 29. And you look at those calculators, if you throw $1 in at age 21, $80 when you're retired, 1 to 80. There's this YouTube channel I watch now, and they have koozies that say, "This beer cost me $80," because they're saying if you're 20 years old and you have a beer that was $1, a can of beer that was $1, it cost you $80 at age 65.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really start investing till 28, 29, which I understand is still ahead of
Way ahead.
like other people. I'm not going to say most it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to compare my situation, but I do think about it, and you apply that to every aspect of life. It's, yeah, you really got to start now in everything, I feel like.
You do. I mean, think about taking care of your health. That takes discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else takes discipline? Planning for the future financially.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the discipline to meal prep, that takes a lot of work, right?
Yeah. It doesn't though, right? It's kind
Well,
of,
once you get in the groove,
yeah, it's just like the painting or reading that we talked about.
Yeah.
Once you turn the music on and you're cooking, it's kind of enjoyable. But you're right, the start.
Yes. The sitting there, if you're sitting on your couch right now and you haven't done this, you're thinking there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's impossible, right? We're already past that point. We've been there, done it. It's so natural. I can meal prep easy,
Yeah.
even with all the macros, right? And I prep my food and I'm good to go. But the person sitting on their couch that's never done that, they have a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And so they feel overwhelmed, so they don't start.
Very popular.
The same thing with financial planning. Well, I don't have any money. Actually, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what'd you spend yesterday? What'd you spend last night? So
Yeah.
you can't say that you don't have money. You're just feeling overwhelmed that you're looking at the end instead of where you are right now.
Yeah.
And how it takes small incremental steps. You're not going to get off your couch and go do a half marathon if you've never done one before. There are some people that could,
Yeah.
but you're going to be in a lot of pain.
Right.
So,
No, you're totally right. And let's talk a little bit about finances. I think that would be helpful for me and everyone else. Like, a lot of people probably, if you ask them how much they spend on takeout, how much they spend on subscriptions, how much they spend on this, they wouldn't even know. And I say that because that was me. But I've gotten more into making a budget and following that budget and realizing I was paying $280 in subscriptions and using about
oh my gosh.
$110 of like I didn't even know about the.
Yeah.
You go to investing that every month,
Yep.
There's a lot of areas I think that people are missing opportunities for.
Short term.
Yeah, short term.
Pleasure.
And that's so funny, right? Because it's barely even pleasure
Well, it's the dopamine effect.
of like going to Chipotle instead of
Yes.
being home.
Of course. Thinking that, okay, but it's easier for me to just go there and pick it up. Well, no, it's actually easier for you to make it because you can make it for the same amount you just paid for that burrito. You can make 5 days worth of meals for the same amount of money, basically.
And it takes less time.
It does.
People, like, that's what's crazy, right? Because sometimes I used to make this excuse of, well, I'm working hard. It's quicker for me to go run and grab Chipotle. But I'm driving 7 minutes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in line for about 6 minutes, 7 minutes back. I can prep it in that time. 90-second rice, ground the beef,
Yep.
beans, hit a avocado, and I can get guacamole for free.
And you can put as much as you like on it.
Like, you really can do it just in the same amount of time.
And once you get into the groove, I mean, it's just like so second nature. And the reason I'm sounding like that now because it has become that way for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like with even working out, I got into CrossFit years ago. Not years ago, not too long ago, but then stopped. But it's this whole starting something, committing to it until it becomes just second nature.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. Dopamine gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Dopamine's a hell of a drug. It's like, I know that we both used to dabble.
Yeah.
And I know, like, when I got sober, dopamine is what I started chasing however I could get it.
Of course.
Because it's a natural high.
It is. That addictive behavior has to be replaced by something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not giving it drugs or alcohol, something else is going to take its place.
Yeah.
What's it going to be?
Is it going to be productive or is it going to be...
Exactly.
And the world does a damn good job of like making everything so dopamine filled. Like, I mean, you know on Instagram when you get a message in that red,
Yeah,
that is like thrilling for some reason. It's the color, it's the shape, it's they put hours of science behind that.
Of course.
They nailed it.
I mean, just think about the swipe effect of the TikTok reel.
So
TikTok, it's so fast,
smooth.
right? Oh my gosh! And then they've condensed clips down to 2 minutes, and even smaller clips.
Yeah.
I mean, I find myself like on YouTube Reels, like I don't want to see that one clip. Oh, this is only 30 seconds. Perfect.
And it's a contest of who can say the craziest thing in the first 2 seconds.
Oh, see, that's what I hate about algorithms and the analytics.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got to catch them.
You got to play
early.
the game.
Oh my gosh, I can't do it.
Yeah, you got to say some crazy shit, and even it's all a game. We got one last question for you. We're almost at an hour already.
Are we seriously?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it.
It never does, man. It never does.
Because you're good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's talk about finding joy in the little pockets of the day that you can find it.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are getting through the day, and sometimes that's all we have the energy for, get through the day.
Oh man, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost gonna say tough, but no, sad's the right word. Because there's a difference between joy and happiness. Right? People make you feel happy. That's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a terrible feeling that I'm allowing you to control the way I feel by how you just spoke to me. Or what you did for me, or what you didn't do for me. That's going to dictate whether I'm happy or not. We all do it, right? You talk bad to me, I'm pissed. You cuss me out, we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You do good to me, I'm like, you're my best friend. It's this roller coaster ride of emotions. But joy is something that is a presence of peace in spite of everything that's going on around you. So for me, again, just me, right? So my joy comes from knowing that I have a relationship with my Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean I'm not going to be happy or sad sometimes? I'm going to be happy or sad sometimes? Absolutely. I'm going to have those feelings. Have them all the time. Had a couple of them since I've been sitting here. Kidding. But joy just comes from this peace. And so, like at work, what makes me happy, what gives me joy is truly helping my teammates and coworkers, giving them everything I have, more than what they expect from me. Mm-hmm. That's pure joy. And it's not predicated on how you respond. You can respond in the most ugliest of ways, but okay, that's on you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of eye-opening because Kansas State, that's like where I came, I came from Kansas. Their basketball coach, Drew Tang, used to be at Baylor. He always says, like, we live life with joy. We play with joy. We live life together with joy. And he's always saying that. And I've always really enjoyed it, but I feel like that gives it a deeper meaning. Like, we don't live life happy. We live it with joy. We try and be passionate about what we do. We go after things. We live. Yeah, it feels like a much broader term that can give you, like you said, peace.
And be grateful. So living in a state of gratitude.
Yes.
That is where you really, really want to be. Because people can't mess with your emotions if you're in a state of gratitude.
Yeah.
Right? I'm grateful for so many things but yet I still see things going on around me that are despicable and
Yeah.
deplorable. But I'm just grateful for what I have, where I am. I'm grateful for this. You know what? I'm super grateful that when you reached out, you're like, "Hey, you want to do the podcast?" I'm like, "Yes." I didn't want to respond too quick.
Yeah, you had to leave me
I'd
on
wait.
red for a bit.
Yeah, I'd be like, can't be too anxious.
Oh man. Yeah. I once heard that if you're in a state of gratitude, you can't feel any negative emotion
Yep, it's impossible.
because you're just, yeah, that's two hard things to feel at once.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful for if you're truly in that emotion.
Yep.
That's a tough one.
And here's the kicker: it's a choice.
Ooh.
That's scary.
Because you can find happiness is probably not like always a choice,
True. Because
But,
things happen.
but you can find things to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Just your last breath.
Yep.
Like that's a pretty, I'm not going to call it small. It's a pretty, like something we take for granted.
Well, you didn't think about it.
Yeah.
You didn't make yourself do it. It's just happening.
Automatically.
Yeah.
But damn it, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I used to freak myself out when I was younger because I would think about how crazy it is for a body to work.
That's nuts.
And I'd be like, if one thing goes wrong,
Yep.
I'm dead.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
The fact that you have sight and can see and can hear,
Yeah.
taste and smell, all these things is absolutely nuts, and you have nothing to do with it.
And it's all powered by boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
You cannot make your heart stop. You cannot tell your heart to stop beating. It's just going to keep beating. So what do you think you can control?
Yeah. It's freaking scary.
So check this out. I saw this quote on Facebook yesterday. I loved it. Let me see if I can remember it.
Yeah.
It said, 20 years from now, you are going to wish that you were in this place that you're in. You're going to wish that you had the health that you're in right now, the state of mind that you're in right now. So why not be grateful for right now?
Yes. I love it. And why not capitalize on that
Yes. Because this moment's it's done.
now? Yeah. Like, yeah. Damn. Well, where can people find you, man?
They can come to my house. No.
Yeah, give us your address.
Let's see. It's Michael Lawson Speaks. So that's my Instagram handle. I think it's some lower cases in there or whatever. I do have a YouTube channel.
Oh, you do?
I do. It's,
Shout it out.
Michael Lawson Speaks. It's YouTube at Michael Lawson Speaks. It is titled Teaching the Word of God Simply.
Okay.
Teaching the Word of God, simply. Yeah.
Cool. Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, the time flew. We went 55 minutes.
Really? Man, you're good.